So I'm just presenting my cybersecurity risk and strategy project. So 5-minute presentation which outlines key cybersecurity threats and risks and how to address them. So I'm looking at Colonial First State, which is a company that I've done some work with recently. So they're a large superannuation wealth creation and management organisation in Australia. They have $110 billion in funds globally under management, which is part of a bigger super industry in Australia, was worth around $2.9 trillion. So it's quite a lucrative target for cyber criminals, especially given it's a fairly passive type investment. People don't check their accounts very often, etc. So, the key assets there are really the members' personal information and the total member fund balances. Okay, and there has been some fairly recent cyber attacks in this space there in Australia. So. Moving on, at the end of the day, the current state of cybersecurity, it's pretty robust. It needs to be sort of industry best practice to compete in the financial services industry. Key priorities, though, is protecting member and customers' sensitive personal information, so name, date of birth, address, other key information types. So looking to protect their funds and balance investors and protect CFS and be regulatory compliant. In terms of strategy, in terms of roles and responsibilities, there's already a fairly robust set of governing roles there in the board and group executive level. And then you've got the day-to-day functional roles there, so IT, management and all staff who need to be identifying, assessing and managing cyber risk on a day-to-day basis. Again, current state, there is a significant amount. We're after sort of policies and standards in place to essentially manage this type of risk. And as I said before, it's peer benchmark. It's pretty much best practice basically. So key assets, customer data, customer funds, any data and funds any data, or I guess we hold with third-party vendors, and any customer data and privacy requirements, and any system outages which could disrupt the business in totality. So threats there are things like phishing, malware, identity theft, which is probably the highest risk that we face. Third-party supplier risk there. Risk of not being compliant with the Privacy Act due to a privacy breach, and then just malware or a computer virus taking down the whole system and impacting customer experience. All pretty high. I'd say the identity theft leading to loss is probably the highest that the super industry faces. Then in terms of sort of controls or treatments, training for all staff, automated system monitoring, block malware and auto protection detected, system configuration, and cybersecurity policy. In terms of data breach incident response plan, I think the key things there are, we need to essentially identify the breach and report the incident within 24 hours. The key information, key data, be classified as confidential, highly protected, or customer and personal information. And then it's just listed there, the different types of, and some examples of what those different, data types would be. Essentially, it's, a lot of it's about, can the information uniquely identify someone, basically. And then once a data breach occurs, who's going to do what? So you've got the concept of an incident owner, incident manager, compliance officer, and key decision maker, sort of working together collaboratively to solve a problem. And then in terms of stages of incident response, you've got preparation, just making sure you've got the plan, and if a data breach occurs, and then we need to report things in under the Privacy Act. So reporting the incident within 24 hours, completing impact assessment within 42, notifying APRA within 72, and then fully investigating an incident within 30 days, and then with sort of annual training and testing around this plan with relevant stakeholders to occur as well. So I've mapped out the key sort of phases of the incident response there. I won't talk through all of them word for word, but I guess at the end of the day, the key is to make sure that we have appropriate people who are identified and then brought together and collaborate to initially respond to an incident within that time frame, look to obviously contain it, and then make sure that we report any impacts to the relevant internal and external stakeholders. And then in terms of lessons learned, we need to make sure that we review our existing control framework, and then make sure that, if there are any gaps, we uplift it and close those out, and then, strengthen the control environment and test it, and essentially just make sure that, that sort of control weakness essentially doesn't exist anymore. And that's it.